They called him a vagrant, treated him like trash. No ID, no address, just handcuffs and silence. In a courtroom packed with cold eyes and louder whispers, he stood in a faded uniform, medals tarnished, wrists chained. To them, he was just another forgotten man lost to the streets, until the judge flipped open the file. One line changed everything. Staff Sergeant Elijah Brooks, 3 tours, Bronze Star, Silver Star, Presidential Citation. The room shifted, whispers stopped. And in that moment, they realized they weren't trying a criminal. They were standing in judgment of a soldier who gave them their freedom. It was just past 4 a.m. when the cruiser's headlights washed over the alley behind the courthouse. Frost glazed the dumpster lids, steam curled from sewer grates, and beneath a pile of cardboard and a military-issued wool coat, a man stirred. Officer Brandt approached first, baton loose in one hand, the other on his holster. "Got another one back here," he called out. "Sleeping where the judges park." The man didn't move fast, just shifted his weight, pushed himself up on one elbow, and met the flashlight beam with tired eyes. His boots were military. So was his posture. "What's your name?" Brandt asked. No answer. Sergeant Miller stepped in. "ID?" The man reached slowly into his coat and held out. Nothing. Just empty hands, open. There was no ID. Just a dog tag strung around his neck and a row of dull medals pinned to his chest. No wallet. No words. "Is that a uniform?" Brandt scoffed, circling him. "Looks like Halloween came early." "Could be stolen valor," Miller said. "Let's get him booked." "Charge?" "Loitering, trespass, vagrancy, same as the rest." The man didn't protest, didn't run. He just lowered his head as the cuffs locked around his wrists. At the precinct, no one asked his name again. The intake officer typed, "John Doe." Age estimated. Race, black. Homeless. Mental health history, unknown. Veteran status, unconfirmed. No prints came back, no next of kin listed. The arrest photo showed a black man in his late 60s, eyes unreadable, posture still upright. They left him in holding. For hours. It wasn't until Public Defender Maya Clark scanned the intake list later that morning that something caught her eye. John Doe. Age. Unknown. Found behind the courthouse. Wearing military gear. Refused to speak. She opened the evidence envelope. Inside, a pair of worn dog tags. Faded, but not illegible. "Elijah Brooks," she read. "Staff Sergeant." She blinked. That name sounded familiar, like something from a memorial plaque. She pulled up her browser, searched through archived military citations. And there it was. Elijah Brooks. Bronze Star. Silver Star. 3 tours across 2 continents. One of the most decorated living black veterans on record. Her throat tightened. She turned to the nearest officer at the desk. "Why is this man listed as a vagrant?" He shrugged. "No ID. Wouldn't talk." "I need to speak to the judge," Maya said, standing up. "Why?" "Because you didn't arrest a criminal," she said quietly. "You arrested a hero." Courtroom 2B always smelled of floor wax and stale coffee. The kind of place where lives were processed like paperwork. A long hallway of pleas, bail, and dismissals. Elijah Brooks shuffled in with his wrists cuffed, feet shackled, and uniform sleeves fraying under county orange. His medals had been removed. His dog tags were sealed in an evidence bag. Still, his back was straight. Chin up. Like parade rest in enemy territory. The bailiff didn't look twice. Neither did the judge. The crowd whispered. Maya Clark entered behind him, hair still damp from a rushed shower, notes half-scribbled, heart pounding. She barely had 10 minutes to prepare, but that was 10 more than most public defenders got. The judge scanned the file. "John Doe, charged with trespassing, resisting arrest." "Your Honor," Maya interrupted, stepping forward. "Permission to speak freely?" The judge raised an eyebrow. "This early in the morning?" "Very early, sir, but very necessary." He nodded, faintly amused. "Proceed." She opened the bag, removed the dog tags, and held them high. "Elijah Brooks," she said. "Staff Sergeant, United States Army. Serial number matches archived military records. 3 tours, Bronze Star, Silver Star. He was injured in Kandahar and medically discharged." Silence fell. The prosecutor flipped through his own folder, suddenly sweating. That information wasn't in the report. Because no one bothered to ask, Maya shot back. They arrested him like trash, filed him as a ghost. The judge sat back, staring now, not at the folder, but at the man. Mr. Brooks, he said, voice softer. Is that correct? Elijah looked up for the first time all day. Yes, Your Honor. The courtroom shifted. A different kind of silence took hold, not the kind born of indifference, but shame. Officers in the back leaned forward. A journalist in the gallery scribbled faster. Maya continued. In 2013, Sergeant Brooks led a unit through an ambush in Zabul province. He carried 2 men out under fire, received a presidential citation for valor. After discharge, he was denied consistent housing. VA claims delayed. The system failed him. The judge exhaled. The prosecutor cleared his throat. We'll need time to verify. I already did, Maya said. Everything. The documentation is in your inbox. The judge opened his laptop. His eyes scanned the file, page after page of battlefield reports, service medals, commendations, and delayed VA appeals. I see. He looked again at Elijah, not as a defendant, but as something else. A man carved from silence and sacrifice. This court owes you more than a ruling, Sergeant, the judge said. It owes you an apology. A murmur swept through the room. I'm vacating the charges, the judge continued. Effective immediately. Mr. Brooks, you're free to go. But Elijah didn't move. Maya stepped closer. You okay? He nodded once. I've been through worse. She managed a tight smile. You shouldn't have to be. Before he left, Maya turned to the judge again, requesting that Sergeant Brooks's case be sealed under his military record, not under John Doe. His name should be honored, not forgotten. The judge nodded. Granted. Elijah stepped through the side door, free once more, but this time, with eyes watching, cameras clicking, whispers no longer dismissing, but repeating. Elijah Brooks, not a case number. A man worth remembering. Elijah didn't say much as they walked out of the courthouse. Maya kept pace beside him, coat pulled tight against the wind, her mind already juggling next steps, paperwork, shelter options, medical referrals. He, on the other hand, moved like he'd already seen the next 10 miles ahead, like he wasn't walking out, but back to a heat that made your teeth sweat, back to a Humvee shuddering under sniper fire, back to the day everything changed. Zabul Province, Afghanistan, 2013. Dust lifted off the road in thick clouds. Sergeant Elijah Brooks crouched low behind the lead vehicle, eyes scanning the hills. The convoy had stopped mid-transit. Too quiet, too long. He could feel it. Contact, 2 o'clock, someone yelled. Then came the blast. A buried IED shredded the second vehicle in a deafening roar. Shrapnel hit the windshield like thunder. 2 soldiers were down. Radio silence. Screams. Brooks didn't wait. He vaulted from cover, sprinting through gunfire. He reached the burning wreck, pulled one man out, his leg nearly gone, then ran back again. The second time, flames singed his arm. He carried the corporal over his shoulder and dropped behind the tire wall as bullets hit the sand inches away. Blood in his ears, smoke in his lungs. Still, he went back a third time. They called him insane, reckless, a ghost, but he got them all out. Present day. He blinked slowly as the memory faded. Maya's voice broke the silence. I looked you up, you know. He gave her a sidelong glance. You were nominated for the Medal of Honor. That rescue mission didn't need medals, Elijah said, his voice calm but edged. Just needed to bring my boys home. She nodded. They sat on a bench across from the courthouse. Maya had arranged for a room at a transitional vet shelter. Clean, warm, temporary. But something was bothering her. Why didn't you say anything? In court. To the cops. Anyone. Elijah's eyes didn't move. They weren't asking. They were deciding. Maya exhaled. That's heavy. He finally turned. You ever try screaming in a room that's already decided who you are? She didn't answer. Later that evening, she filed the formal complaint against the arresting officers, Brandt and Miller, for misconduct and false reporting. She attached Elijah's full military file, medical documentation, and a statement from a retired colonel who confirmed Elijah's identity. Then her inbox lit up. One message. Anonymous sender. No subject line. Just a video attachment. She opened it. Grainy body cam footage played. Brandt and Miller standing over Elijah in the alley. Brandt. You think just because you got some dusty war junk on your chest you're somebody? Miller. I say we get him out of here before the sun's up. Another John Doe. Let the streets eat him. The timestamp matched the night of Elijah's arrest. It wasn't just misconduct. It was targeted. And someone wanted it exposed. Maya stared at the screen, hands shaking. Where did this come from? She whispered. Behind her, Elijah stood quietly, watching the footage from a distance, unmoved. You said this place runs on paperwork, he said. Sometimes it needs a little truth, too. Are you ready for this? She asked. Elijah's voice was steady. I've faced worse enemies. This one just wears a badge. The video went live at 7:06 a.m. Maya hesitated before hitting upload. One last pause, one last breath. She didn't name names. Didn't need to. The footage spoke for itself. Two uniformed officers mocking a homeless black veteran, talking like the cameras weren't on, like they'd done it before. She clicked publish, and in less than an hour, the story had a heartbeat. By noon, it had gone viral. The title read, Decorated Black Veteran Arrested and Humiliated by Police, Full Body Cam Footage. On screen, Elijah barely spoke. His silence said more than their shouting ever could. Twitter lit up, then Reddit. Then the morning news picked it up under a breaking banner. War hero or vagrant? Justice in Riverdale questioned. The police department issued a vague statement. We are reviewing body cam footage in accordance with department policy. No further comment at this time. But behind the scenes, they were scrambling. Because this wasn't just public embarrassment. This was exposure. Internal memos began circulating, urging officers to tighten documentation, watch what they said on body cams, and avoid unauthorized contact with the press. Brandt and Miller were placed on administrative reassignment, pending review. But Elijah wasn't interested in policy moves. He wanted the truth. At the vet shelter that night, he sat in the common room surrounded by quiet men. Some watched TV. Some stared into their laps. Some flinched every time the ice machine clicked. But now, they were watching him. You the one on the news? An older man asked. Elijah nodded once. Another man, maybe 40, leaned forward. What are you gonna do now? Elijah didn't blink. Not let it die down. He met Maya the next morning on the courthouse steps. She handed him a folder, full of anonymous tips, witness statements, even a few screenshots from Shieldman group chats. Cops talking like soldiers, about clean sweeps, about dead weight, about getting dangerous bodies off the map. She looked shaken. Where did this come from? Elijah just stared at the courthouse. They're not just rogue officers, he said. It's a system. One that's scared of the people it failed. She opened to one message that read, Brooks was supposed to disappear. Just like the rest. Why is he still breathing? Maya closed the file slowly. We have enough for a federal case. He turned to her. Then open one. Meanwhile, in a corner of a quiet basement just outside town, an old desktop whirred to life. A retired vet named Malcolm, former Intel, was watching it all unfold. He hadn't spoken to Elijah in years, but he recognized the posture, the way he stood in court, the way he never raised his voice. He opened an encrypted line, typed 5 words. He's awake. It's time. Then hit send. By evening, Maya received another file. Anonymous again. This one was worse. Photos. Lists. Internal comms from an off-the-books group known only as Shieldman. Targeting unhoused vets. Linking local departments to federal contractors. hidden funding, disappeared cases. Rachel, the admin at Maya's firm, walked in with wide eyes. "This isn't just about Elijah," she said. "They've been doing this for years." Maya stared at the names on the list. Some were already dead. Some never made it to court. Some just vanished. She looked at Elijah, who sat silently across the table. "What do you want to do?" she asked. He didn't hesitate. "Make them remember every name they buried." The press conference wasn't planned. It just happened. Maya stepped into the courthouse rotunda with 24 reporters already circling. Cameras clicked, microphones stretched. And Elijah, standing just behind her in a clean jacket someone at the shelter had pressed, looked every inch the soldier the system tried to erase. "I represent Sergeant Elijah Brooks," Maya began, firm and unapologetic. "The footage you've seen is just the beginning. We now have evidence of a coordinated campaign, targeting homeless veterans, falsifying charges, and feeding private security firms with data trails to justify city contracts and funding." The crowd murmured. She didn't stop. "A network called Shieldman operates behind local departments like Riverdale PD. They erase people, they scrub records, but they didn't scrub Sergeant Brooks." Beside her, Elijah didn't speak. He didn't need to. His silence had become the proof. That night, national news ran at top of the hour. "Homeless Black war hero exposes police conspiracy. Is your city connected to Shieldman? The veteran they couldn't disappear." Meanwhile, Riverdale PD tried to get ahead of it. Press statements, denials, claims of rogue actors. But their story kept shifting, and every time it did, another leak dropped. Q, the anonymous vet hacker feeding Maya files, had opened a floodgate. Documents, body cam footage, budget memos, transfer receipts from Falcon Corps, an ex-military contractor connected to at least 6 Shieldmen departments. And then, the real break. A voice memo from Captain Raleigh, Shieldman's alleged head of operations. "Keep Brooks off the street. Quiet. Fast. The last thing we need is another flag-waving martyr going viral." Too late. Rachel, who had once been an intern, now acting like a war room chief, stayed up all night building a case board in Maya's office. Names, tactics, cities, patterns. 33 cases sealed without hearing, she said. 14 vets dead in custody. 9 never found. Maya leaned over the desk. "You sure on these?" Rachel nodded. "And I think it goes higher." "Where?" "Federal funding. Check the grants tied to urban resilience programs. Same ones Shieldman feeds data into." They both went quiet. Then Rachel asked, "What if we don't win?" Maya looked over at Elijah, seated in the corner, polishing his boots with a folded napkin. "We already are," she whispered. "They're scared." The next day, the DOJ arrived. Unmarked cars, suits with briefcases, no smiles. They met with Maya, with Elijah, with shelter staff. Even the city clerk who quietly handed over a drive of miscellaneous record deletions. Within 48 hours, 2 officers were arrested. Internal Affairs placed the Riverdale chief on indefinite leave. And behind closed doors, subpoenas went out to 5 cities. One by one, the Shieldman machine was being pulled into the light. But exposure had a price. At 3:12 a.m., someone threw a brick through Maya's windshield. At 3:17 a.m., her inbox was flooded with spam and encrypted threats. And by 4 a.m., she had police stationed outside her home. "You can step back," one officer told her. "I don't step back," she replied. "I step forward." Elijah watched it all unfold without fanfare. He wasn't surprised. He'd seen retreat before. He'd seen regimes collapse when truth struck harder than bullets. But he also knew what happened next: retaliation. So when he opened the package left at the shelter's front desk, a manila envelope with no name, he wasn't shocked. Inside, photos of Rachel, her route to work, her apartment door. Attached was a note. "Back off, or she disappears next." Elijah didn't say a word. He folded the note, stood up, and went to war. The courtroom was packed, not with tourists, not with reporters, though both were present, but with veterans. Dozens of them, some in faded jackets, some in wheelchairs, some in silence. They weren't there for a spectacle. They were there because one of their own had refused to disappear. At the front sat Elijah Brooks, dressed in full uniform. A quiet protest, a public truth. Rachel sat beside Maya, hands tight in her lap. Her photo had been used in threats, yes, but now it was plastered on banners held by protesters outside reading, "She stood. We stand." Captain Raleigh sat at the defense table. Face pale, jaw clenched, no badge, just a suit, just a man now. The judge entered. The gallery stood. And for a moment, there was only silence. Then came the verdict. On the charge of conspiracy to commit civil rights violations under color of law, guilty. No outburst, no applause, just wait, just justice, finally made real. Maya exhaled for what felt like the first time in weeks. She had delivered everything: sealed Shieldman memos, financial records, testimony from whistleblowers, and most damning of all, the recording Raleigh never thought would reach a courtroom. The tape had played in full, his voice instructing officers to clean up the streets, naming Elijah directly, saying he was a liability. But the court didn't just hear policy, it heard intent. And now, it delivered consequence. Outside, the crowd swelled. Journalists pushed forward. Veterans raised fists. Officers, real ones, ushered Raleigh into a van that would not bring him back to power. Elijah stepped outside slowly. The sun caught his silver star as it rested over his heart. "Sergeant Brooks," a reporter called, "do you feel vindicated?" He paused, then spoke into the microphone clear and steady. "I wasn't the one on trial," he said. The crowd quieted. This wasn't about one man. It was about how this country treats the people it no longer sees. I was just the one they couldn't bury fast enough. Another reporter leaned in. "What would you say to others still in the system?" Elijah looked out, not at the cameras, but at the people. The broken. The rebuilding. The ones whose stories had never made it this far. "I'd say this," he said. "Don't wait to be rescued. Be loud. Be seen. And if they try to erase you, write your name on every wall they build." That night, Maya filed a federal petition on behalf of 22 unnamed veterans. The Shieldman network was officially disbanded. Several cities launched their own investigations. Falcon Corps faced class action lawsuits. Internal Affairs was ordered to audit veteran arrest protocols nationwide. And Rachel? She opened a non-profit clinic for displaced veterans and whistleblowers. She named it Shelter Forward. The first donation came anonymously. A handwritten note attached, "Tell them we're still watching." E.B. Elijah never returned to the shelter. No one was quite sure where he went. Some said D.C., some said Arizona. Some swore they saw him standing at the back of a courtroom in Chicago, just listening. But wherever he was, one truth echoed louder than the headlines. They tried to erase him. Instead, they elevated him. Not just a veteran, not just a man. A mirror to a country still learning what justice really looks like.